What up, guys, and welcome back to Movie Battlegrounds. I am in your top right corner, just talking to you. I'm the commentator tonight. This is going to be a lot of fun. We have two amazing competitors here for the tournament to go ahead and try and get to that championship match. We have, of course, let me introduce them, the co-founder of this league, Mr. Matt Beer. Matt Beer, how are you doing tonight, and are you ready for this match?
I'm doing good. I wouldn't say I'm 100% ready for the match per se, but I'm ready enough to where I feel confident I might be able to squeeze out a win, and I hope I do, because there's somebody who's been talking a lot of crap, Mr. Grant Gregory, who's been talking crap in the nerd leagues, the video game leagues, saying I dropped out when I didn't, and talking crap, you know, about both me and Ryan. So I feel like I need to win so I can go there and knock Grant out and put him in his place. So, yeah. Other than that, I'm good to go.
Interesting. I mean, you're still going to have to get past me eventually, but it's okay. We're going to
No
go
problem.
over to, we're going to, I mean, we're just saying, records, videotape shows it. That it might be a little bit. Okay, going over to Ryan Mount Carmel Payne. How are you doing? Your match dropped today or dropped a couple days ago for DC. So you're coming off that win. How are you feeling today and this whole debate?
Well, I'm like at the same time with Matt, I'm on that same level. I'm not complete 100%, but I'm not making excuses on this. It's I'm either going to debate well or I'm not. And also, I mean, I definitely do want to face Grant Gregory. I mean, I remember many moons ago, I was a judge on one of his matches that qualified him into this tournament. And if I'm seeing correctly that he does not like the choices that's in front of him between me or Matt, then, I think I'm going to have to put him in his place, let him know that whoever wins, you're going to lose. And also for me, this feels like I feel like I do need to win because so far in these debate leagues, I have come face to face with Matt on 2 different occasions, and he has pretty much wiped the floor with me on those separate occasions. So pretty much it's kind of like not do or die, but it's pretty much redemption, or I'm slinking back into the mountain where I live in, and I'm gonna hold myself there until I don't know when my shadow shows.
All right. Well, it seems like both these competitors want to get through this match. Ryan said he's going to try and stop Matt from getting a hat trick tonight. Let's go ahead and introduce the judges real quick. Mr. Nico, how are you doing today? You're going to be one of the judges here for me. How are you feeling?
The Chokeslam Wrestling Debate Champion is ready to see what these two gentlemen have in the realm of Movie Battleground. I know I've seen the questions and I've seen their answers, and I'm excited to see what arguments they bring to the table.
Absolutely. A person that was in a future DC match, and you'll see that later down the line. Mr. Thomas, how are you doing today?
Well, apparently I was in a match in the future, so that's interesting, how I can be both past and present. I am here to adjudicate these two gentlemen and determine who is going to be putting who in whose place. There's a lot of place putting here. Let's see who actually does the placing.
I'm just saying the Flash kind of like ruined timelines. We're all over the place. Like it's like a rave right now with people's hands and overlapping timelines. The man, the myth, the legend, Zadius, how are you doing today? How is your arm feeling?
Yo, I'm doing good, man. Doing good. And yo, only a couple more days with this cast on, and then it can finally come off. I'll be so happy. So happy. But yo, I'm feeling good. And I'm actually looking forward to this very much because I saw the questions, and I really believe that whoever answered these questions correctly will sway me to like check some of this stuff out. So really looking forward to it.
Absolutely. We're going to bring Matt back up on the screen. Guys, you know how it works. This is Movie Battlegrounds. We switched over the format for Movie Battlegrounds now. They stole a little bit from me, and it's okay. I told them it was fine. We are doing 4 main round questions. Sit down. Sit down. We have four main questions. And what will happen is if it is a tie by the end of question four, we'll go to the speed round. It's how a normal movie battleground works, except now we got four questions instead of three. It's 1 minute and 30 seconds for an opener, 5 minutes for a free-form debate, and 1 minute for a closure. They each have the ability to use 1 minute extender for either their opening or closer. I'm not sure. Do you guys do the timeout rule? Someone fill me in.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
If there is too much filibustering, or if there is not enough time for each other to stop and breathe in between sentences, and they consistently overspeak, as the host, I will come back in and say timeout. Both of them will have a 20-second time out. If they do not calm it down, it will continue to go until they calm down, and then their 20 seconds begin. That's how that rule works. Well, you know the rules now. We're going to get into it. Let's go ahead and go to question number one. And question number one, in the realm of comedy, worst comedy that needs to be remade. And we're going to go over to Matt first. Matt, a minute and 30 on the board. When you are ready, go ahead.
Okay, so looking at all the comedies that came out, all the bad ones and whatnot, there's a bunch of purely bad comedies, but a lot of them don't really have a story you could remake for them and have it be, good, or at least better than the original. So looking through, I thought the only one that should get a remake is The Cat in the Hat. And the reason why is it has a story that can work in an animated form. In live action, it just did not work at all. The humor, it's more distasteful than funny. It doesn't really know what audience it's going for. Sometimes the humor is aimed for the kids, and then it will turn and be aimed for older people, like teens to adults. It changes a lot, not kind of like how Pixar does it, to where it's humor for everybody, but it changes just from one audience to another when it doesn't make sense. So yeah, I'll just keep it at that. That's why I think Cat in the Hat should be remade.
All right, Matt, finishing up his opener real quick with plenty of time to spare. We're going to go over to Ryan. Ryan, same question. Minute and 30 on the clock whenever you're ready.
Like my opponent, this was definitely a tough one because there's a lot of comedies that many people would think could be done better, or maybe just done with a better direction, or just better writing involved, which is kind of hard. So when it came to this topic, I started to look at comedies that could have had something, but because either it was released badly or it just didn't have the right supporting cast or the right star behind it. And that movie is 1,000 Words, starring Eddie Murphy. This movie came out around the time when Eddie was becoming back into the spotlight because of his supporting role in Dreamgirls. Unfortunately, following that, there was the movie Norbit, and then 1,000 Words looked like something that could fit within his wheelhouse of comedy. But the problem was he was the main star of it, and then so unfortunately it has a lot of mixed opinions. Some people do love it because of the themes it brings, and some don't like it because they think this is just Eddie Murphy trying to do physical comedy or trying to do something different compared to his normal style. I want to talk more on it, but I think we should just get into this.
Guys, you got 5 minutes on the clock. We have Cat in the Hat versus a Million Reasons.
1,000 Words.
1,000 Words. I will get that right. 1,000 Words versus Cat in the Hat. You guys got 5 minutes on the board. When do you start talking?
I'll let you go first.
Well, okay. Well, getting into this, I think 1,000 Words does need to be remade because it had a good concept there. Because the concept of the movie was Eddie Murphy is playing a character who pretty much uses his gift of gab to get him out of everything. And then he gets into a situation where there's this tree where every time he speaks, a leaf falls out. And unfortunately, he follows a bitter end. So throughout this entire movie, there is it's not only trying to teach him a lesson on the impact that just talking reveals, but also what he says behind his words. It's supposed to be about how what he does affects not only the people closest to him, his family, but also why he is the way he is. And A Thousand Words works because it kind of does fit in Eddie Murphy's mold within most of his comedies. Sure, there's antics, but there's always some of the good comedies always have like a good message behind them.
Okay, I see what you're saying. That just based on what the movie's about and whatnot, I feel like it wouldn't work as a comedy as well. It feels more like a drama. Maybe you can have some comedic moments in there, but if it was gonna work as a comedy and you have Eddie Murphy in it, it would have worked then. So, and like you said, Eddie Murphy, he was coming back. He did Dreamgirls. Yeah, he had Norbit, but I mean, really, you can't really blame him for that. You know, with a
Well,
thousand
you see
words.
with Norbit how he was trying to do straight comedy, and some of the best comedies that are around have a good mixture of drama and comedy in there. It doesn't need to be just straight joke. With the Cat in the Hat, though, I mean, I'm not gonna lie and say I don't want it to be remade. The problem is, it just can't. It's not because of live action. It's just because Dr. Seuss's stories, they were better told in literary form because you could take your time with the reading the stories, with the message and the art involved in it. And you've seen what I don't know, Warner Bros. Whoever had the Dr. Seuss copyrights did with the live action, or at least when they try to do animated movies, they just
Yeah.
commercialism involved in there. They didn't focus on the overall message of the stories.
All right, but here's the thing. They can be made into movies and animated movies. We've seen it happen and work pretty well. We had The Grinch recently, which wasn't a bad little movie. It's not the greatest. It's not as good as the classic, but it was still a pretty decent movie. We had Horton Hears a Who. We had that one, whatever the creature is. He's like orange. Danny DeVito voices him, whatnot. We had that movie. Yeah. But
it ties back into what I'm saying. They didn't look at the overall message of the stories. The Lorax pretty much it could have been a good story to talk about commercialism versus environmental, but at the end of the movie there was no lesson to be learned. There was no hard choices. And I do remember there was an animated version of the Lorax in the 80s or 70s to where it focused on the gray area of trying to do the right thing when it comes to the environment. The new one that was released either by Illumination or Warner Brothers, it
was a while ago.
They put a happy ending around it. I'm not saying the Cat in the Hat will come back. I'm pretty sure they are going to put one in the books. It's just with the Grinch, there wasn't a lot of fanfare, or at least a lot of positive, to keep it going.
I mean, but what I'm saying is, it doesn't have to have the Cat in the Hat doesn't have to have a message for it to be good. In a sense, it really didn't have a message other than, hey, listen to your parents and whatnot. Don't listen to a cat that has a hat. But with the Cat in the Hat, it can work as an animated movie. We've seen recently animated movies that are based on Dr. Seuss material that have worked. Live action didn't really work so much, but the animated stuff has worked. So if you take Cat in the Hat, which honestly I think out of any of his books, that one's probably the best to be turned into a movie per se, especially animated. It can work a lot better. You can have, like Brad Bird come in, or some, director that's directed animated movies very well. You get a pretty good voice cast. You don't have to have this all-star cast, but you get a good voice cast in there, and it can work. 1,000 words.
Unfortunately, if it's a major studio if a major studio has the rights, they're going to put an all-star cast involved. I mean, sure,
Yeah.
with the Grinch, they mainly focused on Benedict Cumberbatch as their sole lead, which was a step in the right direction. But the problem is, Cat in the Hat studios, they won't learn. They'll go back to that well one. They'll go back to the well. Unfortunately, they'll just go. We'll cast, let's say, like Jim Krasinski as the cat, and then for the kids, they're gonna get someone like anyone else.
20 seconds
in the office. Oh damn.
Yeah, but that won't. That getting an all-star cast or not having an all-star cast won't dictate how good or bad the movie is. It's ultimately going to be the script. I'm not saying having an all-star cast is a bad thing. I'm saying
Of course not.
You can have anybody in there and make it work.
Yeah, but it's also along the mixture of direction and how you make it work, and which is why I think when it comes to
Eddie Murray couldn't make it work.
Time.
Put that in.
Damn it, I didn't get much.
Right.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to go over to Ryan to begin the closing arguments. Minute on the clock, Ryan. Tell us why 1,000 Words is deserving of being remade over Cat in the Hat.
as I mentioned before, some of the best comedies that have come across are movies that have like a underlining or overall message involved that's not too heavily tacked onto us, but is like a guiding presence throughout the story. And 1,000 Words can be remade because the ultimate message is what it's not about it's not about what we say, it's about how we say it. We can't just always tell someone we love them. We can't always just make promises. We live in a world now where social media is taking all of our words and twisting it, and that's how you can remake 1,000 Words. You can, I mean, sure, modernizing it might date it a bit, but right now at this moment it can be used because we are so used to what we're
20
saying
seconds.
all the time, what we are doing with words, how we got to correct ourselves. And 1,000 Words can be remade because what better way to teach us that our words are important, what we say matters, than a movie like 1,000 Words.
Okay.
I'm done.
Finished right before the time. Matt, minute on the clock whenever you're ready.
All right, like I was saying with 1,000 Words, it doesn't really work as a comedy. You would have to make it basically a drama, maybe a little comedic beats at times, but it would be a drama, not a comedy. And if Eddie Murphy couldn't make it work at the time, I don't think you can get anybody to make it work at all. With Cat in a Hat, you can make it work, especially animated, which is what we're going to aim to make it. You can get, Illuminations or Universal or whoever owns the rights. They'll make the movie. You get a good director in there. You have any cast. You don't have to have an all-star cast. You can have, voice actors, or you can go for the all-star cast. Either way, it can work. And out of all the Dr. Seuss stuff, it works the best. With Cat in the Hat, the one that came out in like 2000, whatever,
20 seconds.
Mostly meant for memes. That's all it was really good for. The humor was distasteful. It didn't know what audience to go for. At least if you make it animated, they know what audience to go for. They know the humor to go for. And it does not know what it wants to be the classic. However, this one absolutely knows what it's going for, and it can work successfully.
All right, guys. That was a barn burner of a first question. We're going to go ahead and bring Thomas in. And going over to Nico first. Nico, you're going to be my first judge on this. Where do you see this match going? Are you seeing it Cat in the Hat, or are you seeing 1,000 Words?
I feel like I'm leaning towards 1,000 Words here, and the reason why is because Ryan really hammered in. First of all, he was very good on this counterattacks against Cat in the Hat, but in terms of selling what his movie was, needs to be remade because of the concept of learning the value of our actions, learning the value of our words. It's not what we say, it's how we say them. And what really sold me on it was his modernization of using social media to tell the story in this new adaptation, in this new age. And while Matt did bring up some good points of like it's the best Dr. Seuss movie that could be made into a movie, there was something he said that was supposed to be an attack on Ryan's movie, but I think it worked against him, which was that 1,000 Words could be a better drama with comedic elements. And there's nothing in the question that specifies it has to be remade as a comedy. We're just looking at comedies that need to be remade. And so you're just kind of helping his movie sound better in the process. So I'm going with 1,000 Words. Ryan gets my vote.
Gotcha. Zadius, where are you at? Where are you leaning?
Yeah, both of these arguments were very good, and even better because I hadn't seen either of the movies to begin with. However, while I think both arguments were great, I really like how Matt had a counter. He counterattacked Ryan with his argument, but he also kind of had a plan on how the Cat in the Hat should be remade. And even though both of them were necessary, might have been comedies beforehand, but he kind of had a plan on how this could be who could possibly recast it, do out some directors and stuff out there, and how it should be animated this time. And also, one big thing for me is Ryan kind of got me a little bit when he supported his Matt earlier in the argument when he said, "Yeah, I admit that I would kind of like to see the Cat in the Hat remade, but I would like 1,000 Words. Never support your opponent ever with
Absolutely.
me." So I gotta go with Matt on this.
And Mr. Thomas, not Wayne, but Zambino. How are you doing, and where are you seeing this? Now that you joined us back here, where are you seeing this battle?
All right, leave it all up to the guy that missed about a minute of this fight. Yeah, this is starting well. So, but I caught some of the more important parts. I came in at a lot of hammering against Cat in the Hat. I do think Matt gave a lot of really good defenses for most of Ryan's attacks, so I do appreciate that. I like that both actually had a plan of what they think the movie is going to be and how it could be improved upon the original. But it came down to me to that closing argument. And while I heard a lot of what I heard throughout the arguments about Cat in the Hat, I think Ryan painted a very clear picture and a very interesting picture as to what his movie would be, why it's important that it's remade. That was a big thing. Why it's important to be remade. And I do think words are important, and that was the most interesting concept. He sold it very well in that closing argument, so I would give it to him.
All right, so Ryan does get round one. We're going to jump back and bring Ryan back into this fold here. And we're going to go to question two. Question two, best family drama of the 90s. I grew up in the 90s, and I'm not judging, so I get to judge you actually harshly for your answers. I don't know your answers. I'm excited to see what your answers are. And we're going to go over to Ryan. Ryan, you're going to kick this off 1:30 when you start.
Okay, when it comes to family dramas, in the 90s were definitely littered throughout all of them. We also had TV shows, we also had family TV shows. So when it came down to family drama that supports the family film, or at least supports where the family is centered around the entire film, my film is Soul Food. This was released around, I think, the late 90s. Regardless, this movie was centered around a big, loving African-American family who every Sunday they get together to have Sunday dinners. And it's pretty much just this, it became a long family tradition to where they all came together, regardless what their problems were, wherever they were dealing with, they came together on Sunday just to be with each other, just to be in their presence when it came to just having a nice home-cooked meal. But the drama is throughout this entire movie, it fell onto where the matriarch, their great-grandmother, well, the great-grandmother, her health was failing, and since she was the rock that held this family together, everyone's problems started colluding into where you had the sisters always fighting against each other. It affected marriages, it affected the siblings, and it also affected their children. So Soul Food works because the family drama is centered throughout the entire movie. And in the end, there may have been like a nice happy button at the end, but the message always remains: family is important. Okay.
Cool. Right on time. Right on time. Matt, he chose a really good movie. I hope you chose a really good movie. 1:30 on the clock whenever you begin.
Nothing like supporting representation in a poor white family, and that's what I chose, and it's Rudy. Rudy is a movie that it's inspirational. Okay, this is an inspirational movie. It's about a kid. His dreams to go to Notre Dame. His family just brought him up on Notre Dame, which speaks to me. And he can't get in it for a while. He's just not great in school, so he has to go to school. He has to study. He has to keep trying to get into the school that accepts A+ at worst. And they have a lot of drama going on either way. And you have Jon Favreau. And I could be wrong. It might not be Jon Favreau, but I'm pretty sure it's Jon Favreau. And he's like friend who's kind of there to help along the way. So I'm going with Rudy. It's an American classic. And it supports representation in the right way. Sorry, there's people running around. I'm good.
All right, guys. You guys will have 5 minutes on the clock when I get the clock set up. And it's set up. So whoever goes first, whoever speaks first will start that 5-minute clock. You guys got 5 minutes on the board. Rudy, Soul Food. That would be an interesting restaurant. I'm just saying. Why hasn't nobody thought of that yet?
Would not be surprised if I came across it. Well, I mean, I like how you kept where you saying how it showed representation, and Soul Food definitely was a movie at the time where it brought representation of an African American family. They may not have been poor like how most movies in the 90s or in the 2000s depicted them, but they were a middle class, almost well off family the thing is that they were prone to, like most families, infighting. But the best part throughout this entire movie, our main protagonist is the son of Vivica Fox, who plays one of the three sisters who look to become the new matriarch. Problem is that they all have three separate and different backgrounds, which also speaks to amongst your family. Like you may have one who's more well off, the smartest, the second may be more working class or believes more in family, and then you got the youngest one who likes to, have fun. So there's all different types of representation throughout this movie. Rudy, I do have to say, is a good choice, but Rudy is always the main focus. You do always see through his story throughout his struggle throughout college. When it comes down to the subsection, when it comes to his family, only time real drama tends to happen is when, it comes to him trying to play football or losing his fiance. That might be some good drama, but it doesn't completely carry through because once Rudy leaves his family, it's all about him and his focus on trying to get in the team. With Soul Food, it doesn't drag away. It reminds you the family is there, regardless if you're with one sister or the other.
Okay, first off, I want to say I was being really sarcastic when it came to representation. It's about a white family, doesn't really do representation the greatest. But no, you look at Rudy.
Well, I'm not knocking you for that. I just said that was a good
point.
I
know. I was just making it clear. It was all sarcasm. But no, with Rudy, what really makes this movie flow is the drama. For example, his buddy, he gets into Notre Dame. Rudy doesn't get into Notre Dame. He's like, you know what, I'll work. That's what I'm basically going to do. And his buddy got into Notre Dame. He got that jacket. It's awesome and stuff. And then his buddy dies. Spoiler alert for a movie that came out in the 90s. His buddy dies, and he commits himself to go to Notre Dame, not only to play football for the Fighting Irish, but to also go there for his buddy, for his pal. It's an inspirational movie because he keeps fighting. He just misses it every time. And he finally gets in, and he has that moment where he goes in. It's completely not true at all to the real life story. He goes in there and he makes the tackle, celebrates. It's the win. It's this whole inspirational movie that has the drama with the family and with him as he's battling to get in there and with his friend dying and all that good jazz.
And I do appreciate how we focus on that. But as you were describing, we are mainly focused with Rudy. And and I do say with Soul Food, we do have not only do we have the son of Vivica Fox as our protagonist, but it changes. We go to Vivica, who's having marital problems with her husband because they don't understand their son. And then it also bleeds into the older sister played by Vanessa Williams, whose marriage is completely falling apart, but she's completely oblivious to it, to where their cousin ends up cheating on her she ends up sleeping with Vanessa Williams' husband, which leads to an even more drama that splits the family apart. Add on to the great-grandmother, the matriarch, who has always held this family together, just losing her health. I mean, she has diabetes. She has to get a foot amputated, and even then, that doesn't save her. To when she dies, everybody in the whole family is in shambles. To where Sunday dinners have not even been discussed or even been brought up. It takes the youngest one, the son, to let everyone know that these are important. But the only way, of course, for a child to get across, unfortunately, it might detriment to him, but he has to make up a lie in order to get the family together. And even then, there's this great moment where he tells them the family is important. You guys screwed up.
Okay. I get that, it has a story about the family, but we're not talking dramas centered around families and stuff. We're talking dramas that families can sit down and watch together and enjoy. And this doesn't really sound like that type of a movie. And look, I get Soul Food isn't a bad movie. It's not a bad movie at all. I think we can agree. Both these movies aren't bad movies. However, I think it fails in comparison to Rudy, where Rudy is not only a really good drama for the families to enjoy together, but it's considered one of, if not the greatest sports movie of all time. It's a movie that you want to watch with your families because it will give you that inspiration that you need. It will give you that. It teaches you life lessons as well. It teaches you never to give up. You might not get in it the first time, but keep fighting because eventually you'll get in. You might be considered too small. You might not be considered the right size for it. But is that time? No, it's not time. Yes, I can finish it in 6 seconds.
Finish.
But yeah, it's lovely. It's fantastic.
0.
God. Okay.
That time. All right. Woo! That was an interesting fight so far. We're going to the closing arguments. We're going to go to Matt first. Matt, you're going to start these closing arguments. Tell us, best family drama of the 90s. Why is it Rudy over Soul Food?
Okay, once again, it's a family drama. It's not always going to be centered around families. It's a drama for families, and to me, Rudy fits that more than Soul Food. Soul Food doesn't really feel like something you could sit down and watch with the whole family. Rudy is an inspirational movie that you guys can go watch and you can get something out of it. It teaches you never to give up, no matter how big, how small you are, no matter what obstacles are in the way. Just keep fighting. You may not get it right away, but eventually you will get it as long as you have as long as you have the will to go after it. You get great performances in the movie. All throughout, like I said, Jon Favreau's in the movie. The whole family is lovely in the movie as well. And then you have
20 seconds.
What's his face? But you have what's his face from Lord of the Rings. He's great in the movie too. He really fits that. And yeah, it's not 100% true to the story, but we're making a movie here, and you got to make the right decisions for the movie, and they made all the right decisions. It's a fantastic movie. Go Irish, number 8.
One end time. All right, going over to Ryan. Ryan, I'm not even gonna say anything right now. I will save that for for my making fun of Matt at the end of this. And you got a minute on the board whenever you're ready.
When it came to the title, the question of the movies we picked, I was very subjective to it. To me, when it comes to family dramas, I do like how the majority of it does focus on the family. Sure, the family doesn't have to drown out the entire movie, but the fact with Soul Food is we have such a huge cast of characters here, from Vanessa Williams, Vivica Fox, Nia Long, Mekhi Phifer, and you have so many good actors and characters of this movie that you have to always shift around the focus and the POV, the point of view. That's why I like. There's always so many different points of views from everyone. Nobody in this movie is really painted as the bad guy. Sure, the older sister might have a bad
20 seconds.
but it doesn't distract her from reminding herself to always take care of the family. This movie was also very successful because it also spun off into a TV show on Showtime, which spanned about 6 or 7 seasons. So when it comes down to Soul Food, it is a good movie because it has so much representation involved. And always just remember, family is important, and it always needs to be remembered when you are not just making a good movie, but something.
Time.
Okay.
All right. We're going to go ahead and bring Tom back in here, and we're going to go to Zadius first. Zadius, real quick, Soul Food, Rudy, and none of them chose the best family drama of the 90s, which was My Girl. With that being said, I would have won the argument automatically. But do you have Soul Food or do you have Rudy in this match?
Yeah, My Girl probably definitely taking it in my book. But in this matchup, both had good arguments. But I think Matt stepped on his argument a couple of times. And while he did make a very good point about how a very good comeback with how necessary family dramas are dramas technically for the whole family, but Ryan really hammered in how the movie is a great movie, first of all, but also mentioning how it has success after the movie itself, but also how the movie is great in itself. While it's centered around the family, it also focuses on the different characters throughout the movie. So I give this to Ryan.
All right, Ryan's got that. We're going over to Tom. Tom, My Girl or their picks? Not just playing. Do you got Soul Food or do you got Rudy? And I think Matt's looking for the actor, and that would be Sean Astin. That's who you're looking for.
I was gonna say it.
Tom, do you have Rudy or do you have Soul Food?
Well, listening to the arguments here, it came a lot down to semantics at the beginning, whether family drama meant the family had drama in the movie, or whether you could sit there and watch the drama with your family. I think neither of which was relevant to the rest of the arguments. But in the end, I do think Ryan had sold Soul Food a little bit better. Matt really hammered home Rudy as a great sports movie, but I do like that Ryan kind of honored the question by really hammering home that family drama went through a lot of the events that went down during the film. So I'm going to give this point again to Ryan.
All right, we're gonna bring Ryan back in. Ryan, you got point for round 2. We're gonna go ahead and go to question 3 in crime and thriller. Most shocking plot twist that occurred in any crime/thriller film. And we're gonna go to Matt. Matt, you have 1 minute and 30 seconds on the clock. Make sure you unmute yourself, and we'll begin when you start talking.
I was gonna do that. Okay, so greatest plot twist in a thriller. I had to not really look very often. It was pretty obvious to me. I had to make sure it was a thriller. That was the main thing. And it is classified under a thriller, so I knew I was going to go. And that's The Usual Suspects with Kaiser Sose at the very end. I mean, need I say any more? This is a movie where they're trying to find Kaiser Sose and whatnot. And you don't think it's Kevin Spacey, which, fun fact, Kaiser Sose, Kevin Spacey, same initials. Kind of funny. But yeah, I'll get into it more in a little bit. Don't have very many notes, so I want to kind of save the ones I haven't used, which is just one, for the actual argument. So, Usual Suspects.
All right, we're gonna pause this, reset the time. Ryan, same question. Crime thriller. Most shocking plot twist that has occurred in any crime thriller film. And 1 minute and 30 on your clock when you're ready to speak.
Okay, crime movies, let's just be honest, crime and thriller movies, sometimes a twist in a movie can always destroy it, and sometimes a twist can transcend the movie into what was already going to be a great movie. And the movie I picked was a twist that is not only still being discussed amongst this day, but it's still just a great movie, and that is the movie Seven, ironically also starring Kevin Spacey as the main bad guy. Looks like me and Matt have some similar minds on that situation. But I chose Seven because before, just like in a way like Usual Suspects, the moment that no one knows much about the killer. His identity is a mystery, but the focus is amongst these cops, and they're not just obsessing over it about just the killer alone. They're obsessing over his motive, the reason why he's doing these crimes, the people he's choosing to commit these crimes on. Sure, they might look like just nobodies, but once you reveal who Kevin Spacey is, in that card, right, how he discussed on the people he picks, not personal though, but they just represent the idea of the 7 deadly sins. How he says how one man as a lawyer, he'd rather make money than, be morally good. One woman who is so ugly on the inside that she can't harm, that she'd rather die than want to live, being disfigured because of her sense of pride. I'm just gonna stop right here, otherwise I'm gonna be
all right.
The movie.
And we're going into the 5-minute main round, where these two are going to debate it out. 7 over Usual Suspects. Most shocking plot twist that occurs in any film. You guys got 5 minutes on the board whenever you're ready.
Okay, so judging by what you were saying in your opening argument, I don't really consider that much of a twist at all. I mean, just really much of anything in that movie. It's not as a big twist in a way.
No, I meant my twist was supposed to be Gwyneth Paltrow's head being revealed in the box. The fact Gwyneth Paltrow was Brad Pitt's wife. It was the problem. When I both saw our link of Kevin Spacey, it distracted me, and that's the problem. But it doesn't change. I mean, despite me not mentioning the twist, the fact that 7 is associated with that twist of Gwyneth Paltrow's head being in the box. Sure, you have everyone always like to make fun of Brad Pitt's "what's in the box" thing, but if you really look at that scene, and even once the whole situation is brought up, the whole box thing, Brad's reaction and his performance only brings up the tension, the intensity, and the motive. Like, we don't want to know what's in that box. But it's the fact that Brad is getting hysterical makes that intrigue even more important.
I think when you see him crying like that, you know right away that it's her head. So the whole thing kind of goes away right there. But also, if you want to talk about a movie being associated, if you want to talk about a movie being associated, I'm going to talk most of the round.
Okay, go.
Last time. Okay, so if you want to talk about a movie that is really associated with the plot twist and could really rely on it, kind of like what you're kind of hinting at with 7, Usual Suspects definitely does that. You look at Kevin Spacey's character in there, and out of everybody involved, he's the one person you don't think of being Kaiser Sose, with him being a cripple and whatnot. And of course, there's a great piece of dialogue I would like to read to you guys that was in the very end. And it's not very long. Don't worry. It's not going to take 2 minutes. It's a great thing that just caps off this twist that works perfect. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he never exists. And just like that, he's gone. And it just ends right there. Great.
That's a good. Yeah, you could talk about that ending line, but that's just the line that's brought up and then we just sell on the twist. With Kevin Spacey, before that twist comes to the box, that twist solidifies John Doe's crimes. Because before then, he has killed 5 people contained to the sins. Mm-hmm. The only 2 sins that were left were envy and wrath. And that twist has to solidify his crimes. Without that twist, if Brad Pitt does not murder him, then guess what? He's just arrested as another killer. But the fact that Brad Pitt does means, just like in that cop car, as what Kevin Spacey's character said, what he has done will be studied, will be talked about. Maybe not for as long as he wishes to, but it is going to be talked about because of the society that allowed him and that pretty much motivated him to commit these crimes.
But if you're talking about that being kind of the thing that hinders whether the movie is a great movie or not a great movie, it really doesn't do that. Yeah, it's not like a horrible twist or anything. It's not, okay? It really isn't. But it doesn't really make or break the movie in a way. It doesn't, like, you could be like, oh, I killed these people because of blah, 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 and the movie would still be great. It doesn't really change the movie like you're trying to say. With The Usual Suspects, that twist, if it just falls flat, that whole movie collapses and is not talked about like it is today. It is not considered as great of a movie it is today.
I have to say the same thing goes with 7, as I just mentioned. If that plot twist didn't work with the audience, then sure, 7 can still be talked about as a good crime movie, but it wouldn't be talked about on the same level as Usual Suspects are. And as I did mention, that twist also doesn't solidify John Doe's crimes. Because, as I don't want to be like I don't want to reiterate myself. It's just that without that twist, John Doe's crimes would have just immediately been shoved away, pushed into the dark, and just as another another act of random killings.
Yeah, but it's still, I mean, it doesn't really change the quality of the movie all that much, like you're trying to say. I mean, it not really.
The journey of both of the cop characters.
No, it doesn't.
Morgan Freeman
you're
as
still
a
on that same
cop.
journey. The journey still ends the same way, except for the fact that Brad Pitt's character's girl is dead. That's really the only thing that would change.
Freeman at the end realized, even though he wants to retire as a cop, walk away from all this, ultimately in the end, he may have left the force, but that doesn't stop him from being a cop. He as he said in his final line when he talks to that cop when they're taking Brad Pitt away, he asks, where are you going to be? He alludes to say he'll be around, meaning he's not going to walk away from this. He has to still be here. Otherwise, another John Doe could do the same thing. And with the twist, as I mentioned, it's a great twist with Kaiser Sose. The problem was The Usual Suspect. If someone who's not seen it knows about that twist ahead of time, it ruins the journey of the movie.
Time. All right. Sorry, that was my fault, guys.
No, that's good.
I didn't get to. I missed the 20 count. You guys had me enthralled in your argument. Going over to it, Ryan, you're going to kick us off. 7 over Usual Suspects. Minute on the clock whenever you're ready.
The twist of 7 of Gwyneth Paltrow's character's head to be revealed in the box. It holds a lot of layers in this situation because in the movie, when we meet Brad Pitt's character, he is this upstart cop. He brings his wife, who is loyal to him, but at the same time is doubting what she brings to this marital relationship, to where she almost considered leaving him. It wasn't from her talk with Morgan Freeman she decided to stay. Morgan Freeman himself was starting to warm up to David. This whole box reveal shows that not only is the John Doe's killings going to be studied from the future, but also kills Brad Pitt's character. He has lost not only his wife, but the potential of a baby, of a future to grow as a person. This twist kills not only Brad Pitt's character, but it also destroys Morgan Freeman, to where he believed that there was going to be some light in the future, to where it could be almost shrouded in dark, to where he ultimately has to realize he has to still be around to find that light. And John Doe's killings will go on forever because this movie is still talked about. And you can know about the twist.
Time.
Oh, God.
All right, Matt. Minute on the clock when you start talking.
There we go. All right, so just because the twist with Gwyneth Paltrow's head in the box, it really doesn't change the movie all around. It doesn't improve the movie at all. I don't even really consider it a twist where it's like, oh my god, I didn't see that coming at all. This is mind blowing. Yeah, it's like, oh wow, she's dead. But that's not really this twist that really changes the entire movie in a way. The Usual Suspects, Kaiser Sose, that twist, not only is it effective at the moment, it changes everything in the movie and how you looked at the movie beforehand. As soon as the cops realize they let him get away, and you start kind of figuring out, oh, it was him, and he was tricking everybody the whole time.
20 seconds.
I mean, that twist is insane. And I'll reiterate this wonderful piece of dialogue written by a pedophile. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he never exists, and just like that, he's gone. It caps off this twist. It really changes how you look at it, and then it gives you a whole new
Time.
in a second time.
It's undeniable. We're gonna go over to Thomas. Thomas, I'm gonna go to you first. 7 Usual Suspects. Make some sense of this for me. Yeah.
All right. So once again, I think this comes down to closing arguments. I think both were pretty excellent, but I think Matt sold the twist as an important and key aspect of the movie, and a dramatic shift in the film, and completely changes how you view it. I really like that part of the argument. 7 might be a better movie, and I think Ryan sold that, but I think Matt sold better how the twist changes and is important to the film. So I'm going to give it to Matt.
All right, Nico, where are you viewing this?
For the same reasons Thomas kind of just laid out, I'm leaning towards Matt. I feel like he was able to hammer that 7. You already know the twist is coming because it's been memed so many times, and it doesn't really change the movie. Meanwhile, the Kaiser Soze reveal in Usual Suspects, he hammered in, and he used quotes from the movie itself to back it up, how the twist completely changes the way you view the film, changes the way the film is structured. What more can be said? So yeah, I'm going with Matt here.
All righty. Matt's got that point for this round. All right, so we have a 2-1. Matt could take this to the speed round. Matt, this is a question that's pretty big for you. We're going to start with Ryan, though, on this one. Ryan, the question is, what was the best decade for Hitchcock? You got a minute and 30 seconds on the clock whenever you're ready.
Gotta be honest. Hitchcock, throughout the decades of his film work, of his filmography, has a lot of great movies. Not some are good, some are bad. I won't say there's like a bad movie in most of his filmography, and it was definitely a hard one to pull here. So I decided to look at a decade to where not only did he had a good quality of films, but he was able to get the best performances out of actors, and I'm going to go with the 50s. In the 50s, you had movies like Vertigo, Rear Window, Dial M for Murder, Kiss a Stranger or Kill a Stranger. I don't want to lose myself on his filmography here, but within the 50s, he had great talent to work with. He had good direction. I mean, of course, great direction, but he just had like a great list of talent to work with James Stewart, and just seeing how he has re-collaborated with him so many times proves on how the 50s was a good mark for his directing career.
Yeah, no, that was interesting debate round. It's 50s versus 60s. We've got a minute on the board. Matt Beer, you are starting the closing arguments off. You got a minute when you're ready.
I'm using 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Yeah.
Using this 2-minute marker, trying
Yeah.
to go ham, trying to hit them haymakers.
Yeah.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay. So to kind of recap my argument and whatnot, when it comes to Alfred Hitchcock, yes, he's known as one of the all-time great directors of all time, like I said. It's mostly because of what he did in the 60s with Psycho and The Birds. Like I said, The Birds is something that if any other director goes in and makes it, especially at that time, it's going to come off laughable and it's going to be considered one of the worst movies of all time. But Alfred Hitchcock was able to make that movie horrifying to watch and terrifying and all that stuff, and to make it suspenseful. They got nominated for Best Visual Effects because of what they were able to do with the birds in that movie. It was revolutionary in that way. And then you have Psycho, a movie he was nominated for Best Director in. The movie was nominated for 4 other Oscars, 3 other Oscars equaling 4 Oscars in total. It's a movie that really just was innovative towards that genre and filmmaking in general. And like you said before, he didn't do the greatest in the 50s, but he had to be like that to actually get to the 60s where he was able to make great movies. So I thank you for
20
agreeing
seconds.
on that point.
You're
Oh,
good.
wow,
Keep
that
going.
was fast.
Keep going. Keep going.
but,
I forgot you were
anyway,
on 2 minutes. Keep going.
The movies that he had at that time they weren't bad movies, but they were pretty slow, dull, boring for a lot of it. They'll make you fall asleep a lot of the time. And you could tell he didn't know exactly what he was supposed to be. And then once he got to the 60s, he really brought everything together and was able to get to his best and his prime. Yeah, that's it.
All right, Matt finishing up a little bit early on his closing. Going over to Ryan. Ryan, make sure you unmute yourself. You have a minute whenever you're ready.
I think it's interesting how Matt, when he does, and yeah, I may have agreed with you that some of his movies are slow and plotting, but if you looked at the genre of films he focused on in the 50s, which were all mainly murders or whodunits, they were all of a different kind. Not all of them was the same. And sure, he did refine his style to the 60s, but you mainly kept mentioning Psycho and The Birds, and they have great recognition and awards, but you weren't giving me anything else from the 60s. At least with in the 50s, I was trying to give something else other than Rear Window and Vertigo. I was mentioning North by Northwest and also the movie To Kiss or Kill a Stranger. He does have a long list of films. He worked best with actors because not only with James Stewart, but also with Grace Kelly, who was a phenomenal actress, as it shows in Rear Window. And he always did a good job of trying to not just make suspenseful moments, but to bring the inner turmoil of his characters, of his actors, which he became more well known for. Sure, in Psycho, it has great moments, but Rear Window and Vertigo focus on just turmoil.
Time. All right. That was definitely the closing arguments. Bringing Tom back into this. Nico, you're kicking us off. 50s, 60s, where do you see this?
Okay, so Matt brought up a lot of great points as to why the 60s were Hitchcock's decade to shine, all the Oscar nominations, how all those movies that he made in the 60s revolutionized cinema for the future onward, how he took on concepts that if anyone else had tried them, they would have been terrible, they would have been laughable, and how and he also attacked Ryan on how in the 50s Hitchcock was still trying to figure out what he wanted to be as a filmmaker, and how some of his movies made you fall asleep. Ryan, no matter what he said in terms to counter those arguments, the main thing he kept doing was he kept agreeing with Matt when he said these movies are slow, and he kept trying to cover his tracks, but he kept digging himself into a bigger hole because he agreed with him on that same point 3 times. So I got to give the point to Matt because he made the same mistake Zadius docked him for in question 1.
All right, Zadius. Are you docking him again? or are we giving Ryan the benefit of the doubt?
Well,
Where
you
you
know
see
what?
this one?
I know I mentioned it earlier, but I'm not going to dock him this time about it because Matt already did in his argument. So I don't care how much it is true. Never support your opponent's argument against your movie in the debate. However, I mean, this is definitely going to Matt, and while I do think they both had good arguments, that wasn't really the only thing that made me lean towards Matt. I believe Matt really showed how Hitchcock made his 60 movies better. And while Matt mentioned also other accolades that the movies in the 60s got, but I never really heard anything. I heard there was a good filmography of 50s movies, but I never heard any type of accolades of those movies, he never attached the prestige of the movies in the 60s. So going with Matt.
That means we are going to the speed round. And how the speed round works, I'm going to go ahead and say the question twice. Once you hear the question the second time, first person to give their answer will go first. You get 45 seconds as an opener, 30 seconds as a rebuttal, and then to close it out, you get another 20 seconds as the final rebuttal. And that's how we do things here now. It makes things really fair. It gives people ample amount of time. You're not getting too much time, but you're getting an ample amount of time. All right. The question is best Stephen King adaptation. Again, the question is best Stephen King adaptation.
Matt. We said our names, right?
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, you can say
And
Matt.
theatrically released,
Matt.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, The Shawshank Redemption.
Shawshank. All right, I will give you a total of 30 seconds, Ryan, to think of Shawshank and Misery. This is going to be a great fucking fight. Matt, you have 45 seconds on the board to start with your arguments. Sorry, it's not an opener. It's literally just you can do whatever you want. 45 seconds, 30 seconds, 20 seconds. You guys got it. Matt, 45 seconds on the board when you're ready.
Okay, when we look at not only the best Stephen King movies of all time, adapted movies, when we look at the best movies of all time, everywhere you look, Shawshank Redemption is always on that list. It has everything you want. It has an incredible script, incredible directing. All of the acting all around are incredible in the movie. From the guy who voices Mr. Krabs and is in other movies like Highlander, to Tim Robbins, to Morgan Freeman. It's just
20
great
seconds.
performances all around. You have an incredible score. The ending is one of the best endings of all time in any movie at all. You have the iconic shot where he's raising his fist after he gets out of jail with the rain going down, which it's kind of spoiled by the poster, but whatever. It's still a fantastic scene. Everything in this movie is fantastic. Misery, all it really has going for it is the performance of Bates.
Time. Ryan, 45 seconds on the clock when you're ready.
Misery is one of Stephen King's best adapted novels because not only is it a great movie, it also pays really close to Stephen King's writing, to where the situation of you meet an author or someone as a creator, you meet your biggest fan in probably one of the most unexpected situations, and then guess what? It has to play to a cat and mouse game of survival. You gotta play mind games. You gotta try to at least make it through the end of the night. And Kathy Bates' performance, if any other actor got in that.
Seconds.
The character of Annie would have just been too hammy, but Kathy Bates draws that line of someone who's menacing and of someone who can be nice and caring on the switch of a hat. And don't forget, James Caan does a great performance as the author too, displaying the terror and also the means to want to survive, to want to keep moving forward as someone who's stuck in a rut. At least
Time. Matt, 30 seconds.
Yeah, you have great performances in Misery, but that's really all it has going for it. You look at the script; it's not really one of the better scripts in Stephen King adapted stuff. Even you said it's not even the best. You said it's one of the best, which is something I agree with, but it's not the best adapted Stephen King thing. You look at Shawshank Redemption; it's about a man who's framed for the murder of his ex-girl and then his person that she's seen and dating and whatnot. He's framed for that, so he has to go there. It's an incredible story. It's a horrifying story at times too, and it's also another story. It makes you it's like an inspiring story.
Time. Ryan, 30
your
seconds.
Camera's like way off. You're like out of sync on my end. Sorry. I saw you doing the 5 minute.
Can you guys see me?
I mean, I could see you,
I can
but
see
you're
you now.
like off sync.
I can see you, yeah. You're coming clear on my end.
Okay, it
All
might
right,
just be
30
me.
seconds.
Misery, the moment it was released in theaters, it got itself some definite it got recognition. Shawshank, when it got released, it didn't get the huge clout it had until it kept
20
constantly
seconds.
being released on cable because it was always being shown on TNT, TBS, CBS. Misery, when it got released as a movie, was lauded for not only the performances but the direction involved. The script, in any other lesser director's hands, it could have been hammy, but the direction
5,
did a great job
4,
to show of
3,
a scene that it's
2,
mainly of two characters
1.
playing cat and mouse.
Time. Matt, 20 seconds on the board when you're ready. This is it, guys. Make it count.
You do realize Shawshank Redemption was nominated for Best Picture. The only reason why it didn't win was because when it got against movies like Pulp Fiction and Forrest Gump. It's a great movie, incredible script, has the best script out of Stephen King stuff. It's the best directed out of Stephen King stuff. It's the best acted out of Stephen King stuff. It has an incredible score. And also the old man that gets out of jail, he goes to that like
5,
hotel or whatever,
4,
and he hangs himself. That's heartbreaking. It's emotional. It
2,
makes you cry every single time you
1.
see that. It's a
Time.
masterpiece.
Time. All right. Ryan, you are closing this out. Last 20 seconds on the board. This is what it comes down to. 20 seconds whenever you're ready.
Misery is one of Stephen King's best adapted works because it focuses on the thing that Stephen King is great at, building suspension and building terror. Without the entire movie, James Caan is at the mercy of this woman who can turn on a dime because she doesn't like what he's writing. And if you take that story and adapt it now to most creators, people who want to create stuff, that's the terrifying situation of wanting to be across someone who will judge you.
Time. All right. Putting Ryan in the backstage. This is getting heated. Zadius, go to you first.
This was great, and this was very tough. And I was leaning towards Ryan, but whenever Ryan mentioned the fact of how the Shawshank Redemption didn't really receive too much credit towards later in the years and stuff being played on TV, TNT, and everything, but Matt rebutted it in his closing in his rebuttal. So gotta give it to Matt.
All right. Thomas, where are you seeing this? Misery, Shawshank, what are you saying?
So I got to give Ryan a bit of credit for throwing in the book and actual adaptation, so I like that. On the other hand, it was only a short sentence about how close it was to the book, which I don't believe is the proper way to adaptation, but that off the side. Other than that, I think Matt sold very well why Shawshank was a better movie. Ryan tried to counter that a few times about initial reception, which, by the way, I fact-checked very quickly, and they made essentially the same money at the box office, and Matt quickly responded with the Best Picture nomination, which is what seals the victory to Matt for me. Good comeback.
With that being said, your winner of this match, moving on in the tournament, Mr. Matt Beer. We're going to go to Ryan first. Ryan, I know this isn't how you want to. You started off heavy-handed, winning the first 2 rounds. And don't beat yourself up. Next season's going to be great for you. You're going to get your prep time in. You're going to get ready for this. Next season, you're going to be a hell of a competitor, and I can't wait to see it explode. So, Ryan, tell me how you feel.
I know you're going to ask me on my thoughts here, and I'm just going to start out by saying this. It doesn't matter how much prep time I have on the end. It always falls down to, and what's important is how I argue with it. I could have had a whole notebook. Maybe 2 or 3 pages of notes, but it still wouldn't have saved me not because of the time limit wise, but because this has to be very quick-witted between whoever I'm facing. I have to be able to not just counter, but also mentally prepare how I can shoot back. Now, personally in my mind, for the speed round, I mean, to me, with Stephen King, sometimes it can be off on him. I mean, what's his best adapted work? I mean, that is always hard to surmise. Most people would have said The Shining, which in reality, Stephen King has publicly said he doesn't like it. We could have also talked about the new movies out here, but there's not even a lot of people saying how much it really respects his work to the books. But the truth is, when it comes to Stephen King's books, it's really hard to choose because you're not going to always get all the adapted material. You're not going to get everything. You just got to get the bullet points, which is why I felt Misery worked, because it did its best job focusing on the overall story and bullet points. And yeah, I'm not going to say anything wrong about Matt. Matt did a good job with how Shawshank Redemption is a good movie. And also, I personally love that movie. It's just, yeah, it was coming towards the end.
It's rough.
Yeah, it was just after we did crime thrillers, I knew I was on an uphill battle with Hitchcock. So I was trying to punch hard and as fast as I could, but it's kind of like working with a speed bag. I'm constantly missing every single time, maybe hitting every 1 or 3 punches. So, yeah, it's just moving forward. I'm just going to look at it this way. Whoever I have next, no matter what topics I have, I will take the best time. I will do my best to at least know everything about the movie and to honor the question. And even then, as I mentioned, I could have a stack sheet of notebooks or one note piles saying how good this movie is or how I can counter the opponent's movie. It's all about how I'm going to argue it and how well I convince the judges.
Absolutely. Let's move on to Matt. Matt, unmute yourself there, buddy. All right. How are you feeling, man? You came back. Some would say they could start calling you the comeback kid with your ability to come back, man. How are you feeling about this?
I got to be honest. I thought I was done after question 2. I thought I was going to get knocked out just right off the bat. Because I'll be completely honest. I never watched Usual Suspects. I just remembered people talking about how great of a twist that was. So I was like, okay, I'll use that. I'll watch the twist, see what happens, and I'll just kind of talk my way through it from there. I looked at Hitchcock. Ryan had the opportunity to answer first. I looked. 50s was clearly the answer. So I had to try to come up with something in a few hours. And then, honestly, with Rudy and Soul Food, I've never seen Soul Food. I need to watch Soul Food, but I've never seen it. And I thought I was completely done, so that's why I tried to change the argument away. So, right after round 2, I was like, okay, there's no way I'm going to get Hitchcock. I was really wanting to get question 1, because then maybe I get to a speed round. But I thought I was going to get knocked out. So I'm just happy that it was a best Stephen King adaptation, because I got to use Shawshank Redemption. And Grant, I'm coming for you, buddy. You ran your mouth. You were talking about how I backed out because I was scared of you. Completely false. Had internet issues. Internet was out. Ask whoever was all involved in that match. And Jacob also had issues. So let's not act like you clearly were going to win that match. Look, the people you played, they're nobodies, okay? You haven't played anybody worth anything at all. Now you're playing me. I played some of the best. I played Brooklyn. I played Doug, which I still think I should have won, but whatever. I played against better competition.
I won that match.
You played me.
And I played Nico, too. Nico's better than anybody you've ever played. Trust me on that. Ryan's better than anybody you ever played. If I'm able to beat anybody I play, that is clearly better than you. I know I'm going to knock you out. I'm going to destroy you. I'm going to make you not want to compete in this league ever again. I'm going to make you want to drop out of every single league. It doesn't matter. It could be Full Metal. It could be Jack of all trivia. It could be any league. Multiple. It doesn't matter what league you're in. You're going to want to back out. You're going to want to quit your job. Your family's going to be ashamed of you. You're going to be shunned for the rest of your life. Plain and simple. I'm coming after you. I'm getting that knockout. And then I'm taking that game title from you. And if you don't win, which you probably won't, I'll take that number 1 contender spot from you.
All right. That was a promo. Nico, as a champion, how was that promo? And promote yourself.
The promo was fire, and this match, it makes me happy that I'm not in Movie Battleground as a permanent competitor, and that I can just stay over at the Choke Slam and bide my time waiting for a challenger. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube at Nico Suave Regoli, or just Nico Suave with 4 random meaningless numbers at the end on Discord, Instagram, Snapchat, and LinkedIn coming soon. # give Nico a job. Combat Wrestling Trivia on Facebook, Combat Wrestling Network on YouTube. The poorly made Twitter handle is at Combat Wrestling, the number 2. There is no letter G. Right here on TMG Entertainment, where I am the Chokeslam Wrestling Debate Champion, and I'm going to be doing a lot of special things with this title. Dedicated to art on Facebook and YouTube. Check out our Facebook group. Check out our business page, and at D2A Channel on Instagram and Twitter. The Who Cares Anyway podcast every Friday night live at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Our Schmodown reactions and the Viva la Resistance Star Wars Resistance recap show every week. And of course, Trivia for Thon 2, raising money through the fan leagues, through a bunch of matches for the Four Diamonds Pediatric Cancer Research Fund. There will be a Chokeslam debate championship match as part of that card, whether I'm still the champ or not. And Cody Newberry, you and me, 6 degrees of debate going through all the realms of TMG for charity.
That's going to be fun. Zadius, it's been a pleasure, good sir. Go ahead and tell me your final thoughts on this match and the promo, and promote yourself.
Yo, this was a great match. This was to be my first time as a judge in TMG. This was a great introduction to it. Both these guys did a great job in the argument. I believe in both of them in the future. So, and I'm very looking forward to this match against Grant because that promo was fire. So, oh my God, I'm not gonna be a judge in that match. I'm gonna sit back with a cool mint julep and enjoy it. So, anyway, you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at Zadius Smith. That's Z-E-U-S. Basically, just type me in the search bar, or more specifically on Twitter at @D_ZADD. And I'm doing trivia all over the place on Facebook. Sometimes Full Metal. Just find me anywhere on here. Also, I do movie and TV reviews for the Stardust app at Retribution Z. Just their review for the Joker movie. See what? You want to know what I thought about it? Go check it out. And that's again Stardust app Retribution Z.
And he's the TV Throwdown champion over at Multiplex Entertainment. Don't forget to mention that.
This is true.
Yeah, that's that. All right, so we got 2 champs here. Thomas, final thoughts on the match, final thoughts on the promo, and promote yourself, good sir.
Well, it was a fine match between these 2 gentlemen. That promo sure was a thing, and I'm going to make this quick because I do need to get up in the morning. Rotor3 on Twitter. You can find me, Tom Zambino, at other places. That is my name. So find me places. I don't have a bunch of things to promote, so have a nice day.
All right. Great having everybody here. I am Douglas Castle. I've been your top right corner man through the whole match. A cut man, if you will. We're going to bring Ryan in so we don't have an empty page there. Go ahead and add him. There we go. And yeah, no, keep an eye out for the Transvail D&D group. It's a bunch of fan leaguers, fan reactors. We're getting together. I am the Dungeon Master, and I'm putting them through hell. We're having a bit of fun, and it's definitely a well worth watch. It was 3 hours for the first episode, and they kicked some ass, made me laugh. And Jay Burns is now called Sir Cunt. So that is okay. That's the thing. You might want to check out. You might want to check out the pod. You might want to go check it out to find out why Jay Burns has been called Sir Cunt. You might want to find that out. And to make fun of James Spence, he is a little bitch who doesn't do anything and hides in the corner. So those are 2 people that are on the show. Go find out who the other 5 are. This has been Nico. This has been Zadius. This has been Matt, Ryan, Thomas. I'm Doug, the DM over at my channel. And go check out Bloody Matter too, because that show's fun to record at the table. Turntable talk. Have a great rest of your night, guys.